welcome to Discovering the Spiritual Disciplines. Today's topic will be called Centering Prayer. It's a type of prayer, and Ruth Demby will be leading us in this.
I am so glad to be talking with you today about centering prayer, one of the contemplative practices that I have found to be so helpful. It has been called the opening of mind and heart, our whole being really, to God. As we begin, I want you to begin with the goal of simply enjoying your relationship with God. Keep in mind, this is not a performance that's going to be evaluated. Instead, this is a time just of enjoying being in God's presence and love. So during our time of prayer, we consciously consent to God's presence and God's action within us. At other times during the day, our attention will move outward to discover God's presence everywhere. Prepare first by choosing a sacred word. This word will be a symbol of your intention to consent to God's presence and action within. Some examples of sacred words would include Lord, Father, Mother, Jesus, Abba, Peace. I had chosen Holy Spirit for myself, and as I use this sacred word, I can breathe in Holy and breathe out Spirit, and it reminds me that God's loving presence, God's loving Spirit, is both within me and all around me at all times. Choose a word, a sacred word, that is appealing to you. Once you have chosen a word, begin by sitting comfortably with eyes closed. Settle yourself. Maybe take a few breaths in and out. Sit comfortably, but with your spine erect, and silently introduce the sacred word, again as a symbol of your consent to God's presence and action within. Your breath can be an anchor for your sacred word, inhaling your word or a syllable or two, and exhaling your sacred word or syllables. Remember to return compassionately to your sacred word when your mind wanders. Critical thoughts aren't helpful. This is not a performance. It is a relationship to be enjoyed. When you become aware of thoughts, return ever so gently to the sacred word. Instead of being frustrated or disappointed that your mind does wander, just return to your sacred word and focusing on that. And as you do, it's as if you're developing a muscle, so to speak, of quieting your mind and setting your heart and your mind on your Lord. Now, some people are going to ask, how long should I spend in centering prayer? I would say start with 5 minutes today, and over time, build up to 10 or 20 minutes. Now, that might sound like a horribly long time, 20 minutes sitting still. But again, as you practice this for 5 minutes, you might do that for a week. And then you might notice that you're really beginning to enjoy the quiet and the depth of your relaxation as you breathe in deeply, breathe out, according to the syllables of your word. And so I really do encourage you to gradually increase the time and see it as a gift to yourself and to God. But at the end of the prayer period, don't just quit abruptly. Remain in silence with your eyes closed for a couple of minutes, thanking God for reminding you of His love and His grace. Don't do this mechanically. Instead, do it with a grateful heart that you have the time to be able to just focus on God's love and God's grace. I hope this very brief introduction gives you the basics of what it takes to do centering prayer. It is not complicated at all. The complicated part is just setting aside the time to do it. And I hope that you will not put off experiencing centering prayer because it sounds strange. I know I did that for a while. But in the past couple of years, as I've really studied different contemplative practices, this one began to interest me as I saw how beneficial it can be to quiet your mind and your thoughts, and how focusing on a sacred word can help even the most active minds to do this. I am in that category, I would say. And so let me encourage you by saying, if I can do it, you can do it. I hope you will try it. And I hope it is a blessing to you and that you in turn are a blessing to others.